Before we get started, please take the time to like, add, and subscribe to our pages on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, and iTunes. Also, please leave us a review.
Just more of those explorers back there, back in the day, going through. I mean, it's no Butch Cassidy, but it's.
We can wander our way over, because this is Wandering Ways.
What's Bigfoot possibility?
Clink.
Clink. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Wandering Ways podcast here. I am Mark, the Reverend Mark, and I am, as always, well, not always, sometimes you're not here, but Ranger Zach. Ranger Zach, how we doing, my guy?
Fantastic. It has been another great week since we last spoke. We've gotten a whole nother week of adventuring and getting projects and stuff done. Excited to share with the Wanderers, I guess. We got an exciting episode today to share with the Wanderers as well. Just a lot of fun going on in the world. I've been spending a lot of time on my Jeep these last couple nights. Because if you're familiar, I redid the roof rack on it. So now I'm painting that roof rack. And when you're painting a, 3/4 of an inch tube, that's in the shape of a couple rectangles. It's really not the funnest job in the world because you're just, sitting there. And so we resorted to spray paint last night to finish the job. No, I got this like bed liner stuff to just kind of like give it some texture, to give it a look, and should be done. Should be putting gear back on the Jeep here soon. Should be right out rolling. So if you're watching the Instagrams, the Roo, you'll see me. You'll see what's going on in the hood, I guess. But other than that, man, just enjoying the good break that we had. The good Christmas break was good. It got cold here in Montana, dropped down to -40, but I was over in Oregon, so I missed the whole thing.
Nice.
Missed the pipes bursting at the office too.
Oh, that sucks.
Really?
Yeah, it got cold everywhere except for like Southern California. But I mean, like literally everywhere got cold.
Well, that's this climate change thing, my guy. Like, it's definitely happening. The Arctic Circle isn't supposed to drop down and cover the continental US and Canada like that, and make just cold weather. The nice thing is it wasn't a snow dumper. I mean, it dumped snow in like Buffalo, New York, but like in reality, that system wasn't designed to just dump snow. It just was super, super cold. So that's a plus, I guess, because when you get both of those, like when you get the -20s, -30s in Montana, which is like 3-4 feet of snow, like you're just like, I'm done. Like, send me to summer. Okay?
100%. Yeah, no, I just got back from Georgia, and I was in Georgia during the big cold drop. And in Georgia, which is known for typically warmer weather, when we said we were going to Georgia, I was like, oh, nice. It'll be like high 40s, 50s the whole time, like not warm, but like comfortable. Nah, it dropped. There was one day where the high was 19 in Georgia. So it was like, God damn, that's way too cold.
I think Oregon got like that cold one day. And it was, to me, it's funny because like when it's that cold, being in Montana, it's a dry climate versus the humidity, right? So when I would walk outside my parents' house, I would like flex my face, right? Because that's just like habit, what you do when you walk outside. But after a while, I was like, it's not that cold. Like my face is fine. It's not immediately drying out the moment I walk outside. And I was like talking to my parents like that because I was like, this isn't that bad. I'm just in like a sweatshirt and jeans. I'm like, this is just like, yeah, it's cold, but I've been dealing with this cold already. Like it hasn't gotten like below this for me yet, where like it was below that in Montana, but I wasn't there. So I kind of dodged a bullet these last couple of weeks and getting some good fair weather everywhere I go. I know everyone in Oregon. That was interesting dealing with the cold in Oregon and just the like you guys live in fear over there. I swear to God, like it's going to rain, so let's shut everything down. Oh, it turned out it didn't rain, and we shut everything
Oh,
down.
because of the ice.
I mean, the ice was crazy. Don't get me wrong. Like when it
Because
did
I was
happen,
gonna say I saw pictures of like there's a road in Eugene where all the cars were literally like on the bottom of it because it was like banked and like so the bottom of it like there's like 6 cars there. I saw someone scraping their window in Corvallis and there was like an inch of ice on it. So it was I
it
was like,
got bad.
well, good thing I'm not there right now.
No,
Seattle is pretty gnarly too. I saw a video of Seattle where they're just showing this like street and there's just cars just because they just start going down. It's like,
I
oh,
did
that
see that.
sucks.
But I saw a lady in Portland. She was ice skating on it, which was like really kind of cool. Just because like she was able to ice skate. And then there was like my grandpa's house had a couple cars slide into it, took out his trash can, just because he lives at the bottom of a hill.
Yeah.
Just some stuff like that that was just like crazy to see. And then just like the way the frozen ice, because it was freezing rain that turned to ice. So it was like you'd walk outside and it looked like snow, but no, you're walking on like an inch of ice. It's just how the rain froze. I get that, but to close the night before as like a business or restaurant or something, because you're that like Oregon, you guys live in fear and you need to pull your head out of your ass. You go listen to your news over there, everything, man. They try and make it look like Portland. They try and make it look like you're living in a big city where just murders are happening daily. It happens here in Billings too, you know.
That's just the news, man. The news always lives in fear, regardless. There's always fear stories, regardless of the news.
Then
Really, all it is the framing of that fear. It's all the same, though. Everyone's trying to make you fear something. And the main reason why, well, there's a couple of reasons why, realistically, but one, fear is a very motivating emotion. So, if you're gonna watch, see you're in fear, and then you're very motivated to do something about it, type deal. Whereas, if you're hearing good news or happy stuff, it's not as motivating as fear is. A lot of people will be like, "Oh, shit's good. I'm just gonna chill," whereas
yeah.
fear's like, "Fuck, let's go."
Yeah, but there's a overreaction at some point, and I feel like in Oregon you guys cross that line a lot more than the rest of us. And
I mean, everyone overreacts to stuff, regardless of, it's really what it is. We may freak out about the weather, but, you know, people in other states are going to freak out about something somebody else does that maybe it's just one of the crazy homeless that's going down on the street. He may be out there trying to predict when the aliens are coming, and that makes big news in other states. Whereas in Oregon, it's like, just let the guy think the Klingons are coming.
yeah, no, you're not wrong when it comes about the homeless people out there, but they're slowly starting to figure out that one too. But it's a different world when you're out traveling and these large events happen, especially like the airports, right? Like getting into and leaving Portland around the holidays. I stood in line for the baggage check for 40 minutes. Because
Did you
Delta,
fly Southwest?
no, Delta, which is surprising, which low key, these last couple times I've flown Delta, sorry, Salt Lake, your airport's dropping the fucking ball nowadays. I might be switching over to Alaska as like my primary airline just because of how bad. Like Delta kept me on a runway for an hour. They parked our plane on our runway before pulling us up to a gate. So I missed my flight one time. This time came within like I was one of the last 5 people to get on a bus to take us to our airplane to get home here in Billings, because in Portland they just let the plane sit with a flat tire overnight. Couldn't fix it overnight, had to wait till everyone was sitting on the fucking plane to do it. So yeah, you just got some boneheads making decisions there, Delta, and they need to figure
I'm
it
in
out.
Alaska. I fly mainly Alaska, but I make the Southwest comment because they had like over 2,000 flights canceled.
I heard
Um,
they were still
th-
canceling flights this week.
they probably are. They're kind of a shit show right now. So,
No,
like to the point where they're getting federally investigated.
yeah, I know. I saw that, which is wild to be like, well, it makes sense with how much money they were handed these last couple of years, all these airlines, to have the inefficiencies that they are having. It's like, dude, like you guys should have we're out of COVID. There's no excuses, airlines. What are your excuses? Oh, you paid your fucking CEOs and presidents all bonuses with
Yeah.
that money. Well, that's going to come back to bite you. But I did fly down when we went down to Vegas, Spirit and Allegiant Airlines, which are, they're up there with Southwest, both those, and JetBlue as shitty airlines. And honestly, not that bad. I did the whole package thing where you book in a package, and this is some like travel recommendations, guys, for the wanderers out there. When you're looking at Allegiant or Spirit and you're like, well, I am going to carry on a bag, I am going to check a bag. At the beginning of the flight, they give you a chance to just like bundle it all. You end up paying like $5 to $10 more, but you get to select your seat. You get the priority boarding. You don't have to worry about checking a bag. You don't have to worry about bringing on a bag. It just has it all ready for you to go. And it really isn't that much. And like I said, it was like $5 more. And I got to select a seat, which you're paying for anyway when you select in the options. So like that's what I mean. Like I selected one in the back that was the cheapest, the middle row. And I was like, oh, I'll take an exit window row, extra leg room, this, that, sign me up. So it worked out. Lot better experience than Delta this go around, which is shocking. But it is what it is. And I'm going to call them out on the Wandering Ways podcast. No.
Yeah. No, but yeah, so getting back to travel and stuff like that. Yeah, I was in, like I said, Georgia, and able to get it kind of out a little bit. We went to falls, Anarubi Falls. It was a good state park. It had all the classic stuff that you love to see in a state park. It has a parking lot. It has nice little hike. It was cool to see all the ice, literally parts of the falls being frozen over, part of the creek being frozen over. Saw a statue of Smokey the Bear. It's always a pleasure to see Smokey, more of a Woodsy the Owl guy, but Smokey the Bear's up there. But North Georgia, it's pretty country. It really is pretty country. It's like getting out kind of, in the boonies around here where it's just different trees, really. That's really all it is. It's different type of tree. Everything's spread out, maybe more so spread out there. But
Then,
you
and
know,
like you're kind of comparing it to like the Willamette Valley and all that with when you get out into like the country aspect of that and you're into the more
yeah, that the one thing that I thought was weird about being ever is everything is so close, right? So packed in there, but everything when you're like in a spot, everything is so much more spread out. Like there's a house, a lot of land around it, another house, a lot of land around it, type deal. That's the biggest. So that's where it gets spread out is because it's like one plot, a lot of land, plot, a lot of land type deal.
that makes sense though, because like think of like when Georgia was being founded and built, right? Like people would have more like lawns and yards.
Mhm.
Where like now it's funny you take that comparison to like 2022 and 2023 now, and you get into that modernness of it like no, we'll live on top of each other, around each other, and put fucking 700 homes in this square mile because they're
Mhm.
apartments and condos the way they are. Versus, yeah, no, you just need one little home for your family, and yard around it. Like it's cool. I mean,
Yeah.
it's cool to see it. It's really going down to the south. That's why they call it the South. It's distinct enough to give it its own like region, its own area of the country that people like you want to go check out and see.
Yeah, it's worth. I think it's worth a visit for everyone to go check it out. I mean, it is definitely is pretty. We were in good old Bigfoot country.
Yeah, it's
Saw a lot of possibilities. You could see that there's a lore of Bigfoot being in that area. So moment you see that, you got to keep your eye out for my boy Big.
see, I would want to actually go down there and like before COVID and see that just because like I feel like the Bigfoot craze got blown up during COVID as well. Again,
No,
like
I think it's been there for a while.
you do. That's good. That's good.
I think it's been there for a while. Just the way, but we went to this town called like Helen, Helen, Georgia, which is it's like a Bavarian style kind of town. It looks a lot like Leavenworth if you've ever
Okay.
been to Leavenworth. Um, and there were like two kind of like Bigfoot take a picture with me kind of statues in this one town. So it's like he's been there. There's the lore of Bigfoot in that area definitely for a while. I didn't see him. I kept my eyes out, but I didn't see him. So
Good. Good to
we have to
know.
look harder.
You have to get the Mark report on that.
Got to, got to make sure everyone knows if we have a Bigfoot sighting. If you have a Bigfoot sighting, shoot us an email, Wandering Ways Podcast, or hit us up on the social medias. Let us know if you have any stories about our boy Big. But no, Georgia, super cool. Went to the aquarium down
Oh, I
there.
saw the videos. I saw the shark whale shark.
Yeah, the whale shark.
Yeah, how neat was that seeing that in a fish tank?
I mean, they're massive. They really are. Aquariums are kind of hit or miss, or kind of bittersweet for me, not really hit or miss. Because you ask the question, you're like, okay, how did these guys end up in here? And thankfully, like the whale sharks actually have like they're there for good reasons. They were like sold on the illegal fish eating, so these whale sharks that were in the tank were gonna get eaten, so they were kind of saved from getting turned into some sort of meal. So, and that was illegally traded. So that was encouraging to see like that they're in there for not just because it's like, oh, let's have a whale shark. It was like, no, we're saving these guys from some horrible, horrible death. They're massive. They are absolutely massive creatures.
I've seen like the TV show that aquarium's a part of, and just like episodes when they're dealing with those sharks and just the seals and whatnot that they got. Like that's a huge that's one of the top aquariums probably in the US. It's one I definitely want to go to. I want to check it out. I want to see it just because I haven't been there. I get what you're saying. I talked about it I think last time about dams and how I kind of feel that I'm uneasy with dams because you're like, well, I get we're saving the water for humans, but what does that do to like the rest of nature? Is that's why we're having global warming is because of all these dams changing the way water, I get what you mean when it comes to like, like putting orcas, you're the guy that says fuck SeaWorld, so it's like, essentially you're putting an orca in a tank again over here.
That's and that's why I'm always curious how they get, because there are like zoos and aquariums. There are zoos and aquariums out there that, there's the rehabilitation, or some animals just they won't survive in the wild anymore. And there's the whole argument of Darwinism and whatnot. Let the thing die out in nature. That's a very valid route. Go for it. I don't think that's a horrible way to go, but if they can't live in the wild, or there's a rehabilitation part to it, bringing them into a zoo or an aquarium, it's nice. We can learn about it. We can teach others about that
Right.
species. So there are positive. It's just how did they end up in that facility?
You're right. It's the learning, it's the alienification of like we're taking you out of your, society and we're bringing you into this lab, essentially, this place you've
Yeah.
never been before. And we're going to do experiments and tests and figure out who you are to understand you because you got injured.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I do get it. You come here next time you're in Montana, I'll take you to our zoo here in Billings. We joke because a lot of like, oh, they got these bears because they were in this campsite. They got these deer because they were hit by a car. They got these eagles. And then my dad likes to say, well, if that's not enough for you, go down to Red Lodge where it's even worse because it is like, well, there's the elk that thought it was an antelope, and then there's that cougar that, just kept playing with something in the middle of the road and stuff like that, where it's like, here's the special needs animals of Montana here out because like, yeah. And it makes sense. It's good that we have these places you can learn from them. Kids can learn from them. It's a good place to, I remember going to the zoo in Albuquerque growing up, and it was one of those for me that I learned a lot. They had a really good section on African animals, and I learned a lot from that as a kid. So it helped, and it probably helped me get to where I am today, thinking like, yeah, that stuff's bad. Like, I don't know. You go to the zoo, I don't necessarily see joy on a lot of the animals' faces.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, why are they there? Are they taking a perfectly healthy animal or whatever from nature and putting it in a cage? Totally not cool. Is it being flung around an illegal trade market? Is it, getting hit by poachers, or is it just like severely hurt out there type deal? Different conversation, that you're,
The ones born in captivity, right? Like the animals that are born into the zoo.
yeah,
Like,
that's kind of not
can
cool.
that one, can you release it into the wild? Will it know
Yeah.
what to do? I mean, sure, there's an instinct of some sort, but in reality, we are the ones at that point that are becoming the crutch for those animals. But
Hmm. No, and you know, I don't know. I'm just wary whenever there's a zoo or aquarium. It's a huge aquarium. There's always cool shit in those kind of aquariums. So you see stuff that you probably never would get to see. I don't know if I'll ever get to see a whale shark again. I sure hope so. Would love to see one out in the wild. But if not, at least I know that I had one swim right above me. So, um, which was dope as shit. But that is not why we're here today. No, 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 no. We're here to continue our ABCs of the national parks. We're in the seas. We did Canyonlands last time, and we're not going far. We're not going far, both alphabetically, because we're only moving one down the list, and geographically. We're not going far as we are on Capital Reef National Park. Another one of the Utah Five. I think we're up to three. Have we? No, well, this might be the fourth one of the Utah Five.
yeah,
Uh,
we've hit. I mean, Zion's going to be a while,
yeah.
but
Zion might be the last one.
Capital Reef, Canyonlands, Bryce, and Arches.
Yeah.
We've hit four of them, and this one, as they say in the subpar books, is somewhat bland. I get it if you took the road through the middle of the park because that's what I did my first time. And you're like, that's it? It's just about 2 miles wide. No, it's a canyon. You got to get into the canyon and go explore it. That's why it's called Capital Reef. No.
Yeah, no, this is definitely one where I think everyone should go out and explore it. Because if you don't, you could definitely get the classic, oh, I kind of just drove through. You don't, this is one I think you really got to jump on in, check it out. is between Bryce Zion and Canyonlands and Arches. So if you're doing the Utah 5 kind of road trip, this is probably your middle park, regardless of the direction you go.
This park too, I did that thing in Yellowstone Park when I was working for the BLM, and I met a guy from Utah, and I was like, so Utah 5, what's your favorite park? And he said Capital Reef. He says, you just got to get into the back country, which isn't that hard to do in this park, because there's like, I would say 90% of this park is back country, where you got to get off the trail. You got to go really plan and understand where you're going in this park to go there. And he said, you're going to want to dedicate a couple days in this park to these areas. So it's kind of cool to hear that from a local, that, you know, when you drive through it, you're like, that's it? That's all it really got? No, it's got a lot to offer. It's got more. And I don't know. I remember when you and I went, we did that little hike to the natural bridge. And I just remember getting back there to the natural bridge and being like, fuck, like we need to go see more. Like there's so much, you can tell there's more of this park. The clouds that day were just, it was that, I have pictures, and it was just that beautiful blue sky with those white clouds.
Yeah.
With the red and white and, you know, of the Utah rock. Oh, it was such a beautiful day. You know, it was one of those where we probably spent maybe 4 or 5 hours in this park. That was it. And, you know, maybe like, it's like, I get it. I do see where you want to spend 2-3 days, because there is so much more. You got to take a dirt road to go see it. That's all.
Yeah. No, this definitely, I think, is one. You can still, you know, the natural bridge hike was just a pull off parking spot. You could see a lot of it. That was really cool. The petroglyphs, they're just right on the side. So, you know, you can see a lot if you just go real quick driving through. But I think the real magic of this park is if you get into it a little more, because I've always heard Capital Reef is kind of the Utah 5. It's like it's the best well-kept secret of the Utah 5. And of the parks and different areas down there, the two kind of ones people have told me, oh, you got to check out is Grand Sierra Escalante and then Capital Reef. Driving through Capital Reef, I see the potential. You definitely got to go into it more, I think, to get that awe. I mean, it's a big park. It's 243,000 square or acres. So, you know, it's 381 square miles, as they say. So, you know, there's a lot to see.
And they say what, area. 100 miles north to south, kind of just skinny long.
Yeah, skinny long. It was made National Park December 18th, 1971.
The 35th National Park.
Yeah. It gets over 1 million visitors a year. So a lot of people are checking this place out. So that's always a plus. Plus to hear biggest elevation changes. Lowest point is 3,800 feet. Highest point is 8,900 feet. So get some good elevation change. That's one thing I do remember about like this park is like where it falls on like the fault line. So it's like visually kind of weird because you're like angled and whatnot. Which is trippy but cool at the same time.
So I was kind of thinking of getting into sport fishing again, but I feel like I need a good quality net.
Well, you know what, Reverend? I got the key solution for you. You know, our friends at Blue Ribbon Net make this eco-friendly aquafade bag, so you're not hurting the environment. It's 100% biodegradable. Plus, the wood is locally sourced, and it is also biodegradable, and it's just such a great company to use. The Blue Ribbon Nets, they're here in Bozeman, Montana, and we even have a discount code. That's right. If you use the code RUGAROO10, That's right. That's my Jeep, the Rougarou. Rougarou 10, RUGARU10. You're going to get some discount on a blue ribbon net. You know, you can get the long one if you're fishing the big fish, or you can get just the good river one, you know, if you're like me and just want to catch a lot of fish.
So again, make sure you go check out Blue Ribbon and use the promo code Rougarou10.
Hey there, Reverend. I heard that you might be running dry on your sticker supplier.
Yeah, I've been looking around and I've kind of like run out of cool stickers to buy and put on water bottles and stuff.
Well, I mean, have you seen the stuff Josh has been coming out with lately?
No, I have not.
Well, he is doing some really cool stuff with the Shop LS 574. Yes, they're working with indigenous communities and making some really cool stickers. He has a really cool Buffalo Mountain sticker. There's even water bottles, hats, sweatshirts, the whole swag. And we even got a discount code for you guys. Yes, if you use Wandering Ways at Shop LS 574, you're going to be getting a discount on your next purchase. But not only that, you're going to be giving a percentage of that sale to the Little Shell Tribe, as well as they donate $1 of every sale to murdered and missing Indigenous women. So just such a cool thing going on there. You know, you use the code Wandering Ways, WANDERING WAYS, and you put that in there, boom, you're getting a discount.
Now what we're gonna do is we're just jump in to of obviously my favorite portion of the show, which is just cool shit in nature. This week I got some cool ones for you. At least I think they're cool. One of this first one is something we've talked about before when it comes to a cool shit in nature, and this is just adding on to it. And then the second one is just really, really pretty. But this first one is an orangutan using a saw. Now, we've talked about how they're entering the Stone Age where they're using tools. And this here is just more proof that they are doing that.
Okay, so I'm just curious here watching this monkey saw this log. Well, two things come to mind. One, doesn't know what the saw is, doesn't know, like, he's kissing it, touching it, right? Like trying to, like, well, actually he's feeling it with his lips, because I think orangutans actually learn that way, you know, like they figure out what something is. Is he picking this? Is someone giving him this? Did he find it at a construction site nearby because their forest is being torn down? And then you see him cutting like that, and just sad, because we're not going to have wild orangutans no more.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of those questions of like, well, why is he chopping this branch? How did he get the saw? Those kind of questions for sure. So, and there's a lot that you're curious about when it comes to this, but you know, the overall gist is like, all right, they're coming.
Right. It makes you think, like, are we going to start putting that technology on monkeys like this, who, you know, where it's like, oh, he can talk to us because he has that device that, like, translates orangutan to human.
Yeah. So, I mean, they talk, they do sign language. People learn teach sign language. So, you know, we're not far off here.
No, we're not. And it's actually kind of cool, because just to see something like that, you know, where, and then this one.
Yeah, next one here for the people that are just listening today. It's a video of Black Canyon of the Gunnison.
It's beautiful.
It really is. It's great. They took this video at a really good time with the sunset and all that.
Yeah, we need to. It's one of those that watching it, we need to go.
Yeah, 100%. The one checking this park out is, I think, kind of a must nowadays.
Well, looking at it, you get these national parks, these especially these newer ones that are smaller like this, like the New River Gorge in Virginia, like in Shenandoah and like those parks that like they're slowly coming to life where it's like they weren't parks before. So, I get that. And it makes sense because it's not the Yellowstone or the Glacier where it's a lot of land that's just captivating. It's select parts of land, like a canyon, and whatnot. And that's kind of how Capitol Reef to me is, talking about Capitol Reef today, where it is kind of like a canyon. They call it the water pocket fold. That's why it's called a reef because of a lot of the sea creatures that they find in the different layers of sediment, and just the location, of this park, and just you come across these interesting, cool things. This one obviously was a park way before, the 1971. So people decided to put this one aside a lot earlier than some of the other ones. But I don't know. I'm looking at a map right now of Capitol Reef and just seeing like we took the Highway 24 right through that Fruta, which is where they had the homestead where they planted the fruit trees. Where if you're in season when they have fruit, you can go pick some because that's where the Mormons planted it on their way out west. But apparently this was a canyon, Capitol Reef. It was one of those that was really hard to pass for the settlers as well. So that's why you kind of get it the way it is. I mean, it makes sense. It's really narrow and skinny. It's going to be just like that tight area of the mountain. It borders, I'm looking at it, it borders the Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument. And I'm just kind of looking at some of these roads, some of these rivers. And I'm like, Mark, we just need to go back down. Like, we just need to somehow figure out how to live out of a car and just see everything for a couple days at a time.
Yeah, that would be nice to get down into there. Would love to go back. I mean, this park's got one of my favorite designations, and that's its international dark sky park. So the stargazing is going to be tip top shape if you get down into Capitol Reef. So that in and of itself is kind of worth going down to check out, and then just all the other stuff just makes it that much extra cool. I think you mentioned it very briefly about the orchard there, and how the settlers moved through, or the Mormons, because they were the first settlers into this area, that they were the ones who planted it, the orchards there. And the National Park Service, they keep maintaining it, same way they've always done it in there. And you can go pick some fruit. And when they're in season, go down there, pick yourself a nice little snack while you're in there in the park to enjoy an apple and some Red Rock.
Nothing wrong with that. No, it's definitely a beautiful park in that sense, and it looks like they have it kind of into sections, like a north, a middle, and then the Cathedral Valley as well. Which I remember looking at the Cathedral Valley and seeing this picture in the visitor center with you and be like, how do we get down there to see the big cathedral? And it's like, oh, you got to take a dirt road here. It's going to do this and do that. And you're like, oh, can't do it in a day.
No.
But they do have a bunch of day hikes. I did see, if you go over to the national park website, they have a bunch listed if that's something that you're wanting to do, because you're like, oh, we're driving through Capitol Reef, but we don't have a lot to do there. Really just the one campground there in Fruta as well. So if you are wanting to stay and get into the backcountry, find the permits. They do have a pretty good permit system in this park, both for campgrounds and backcountry. Which, to be fair, this is one of those parks that you're not going to want to do. I don't think there's going to be a lot of competition for some of these permits, just based on the remoteness of some of these areas that you can go and you can choose and select.
Yeah, very well could. The nice part is, there's a lot also close by, being the BLM land that's right next to it. So camping there can be a little easier. I think there's a lot of opportunity in the area to find camping if you can't get into the park itself. So that probably contributes to maybe some of the lack of competitiveness for these campgrounds and all that. So you can really make a trip of it if you go down there. I got a fun fact about the park for anyone that just likes fun facts and wants to learn a little bit about the area. John Fremont came to the area in 1854. The famed explorer John C. Fremont passed through Utah and Colorado, attempting to find the Northern Railroad route to the Pacific Ocean. The expedition was difficult, and the explorers were forced to eat their horses before stumbling upon a Mormon settlement. Fremont passed through Cathedral Valley, but did not come to the area where the main part of the park now exists. So he's in that kind of, I think, the northern part of it. He wrote that the area was visited by nomadic bands of Utes and Southern Paiutes, but Fremont did not find evidence of a permanent settlement in the area. So just more of those explorers back there, back in the day, going through. I mean, it's no Butch Cassidy, but it's, all of those kind of explorers.
Well, he has a river named after him
Yeah.
in the park. So if you want to go check that out while you're there, he I don't have any information on him, but as you're saying, kind of just like set in this section. This is another one of those parks when you're driving from like a Bryce. I remember you can see it. This is one of those formations where that ripple just sticks up in the ground. It looks like just mountains on the horizon, but it's just a line essentially that you can see from miles and miles away. So no matter who you are, ancient traveler, modern traveler, it kind of draws you to it. You want to go check it out. You want to go see it. And yeah, like you said, it's very nomadic of a place, but it's also sitting on that fault line. And when you get like those interesting places like that, the natives and whatnot, they wouldn't necessarily live there, but they would consider them holy. They would consider them those passing through parts. That's another reason why you get a lot of pictographs and petroglyphs at this park, and you get a lot. And it's weird, like the Utah natives, man, they like to draw on rock. I've learned that.
Yeah. I mean, I could see why there was no permanent settlement there. It's kind of harsh land. I'm kind of surprised they're able to grow fruit down in that valley, but it's probably like the one real kind of settleable land in the area. The rest is a lot of it's just rock, and rock's not really ideal to live on.
Or like to grow anything for that matter. It's just, barren in that sense.
Yeah, so I definitely see why it's not why there's no permanent settlement there or anything like that. Another fun fact about Capital Reef, before it was named Capital Reef, it was originally named Wayne Wonderland or Wayne Wonderland State Park.
From Wayne's World. No, I'm just kidding.
Maybe. I don't know. In 1935, 2 years before it became a national monument, national and state officials went back and forth on Capital Reef's proposed boundaries. While some wanted to name the monument Wayne Wonderland, Ephraim Pechtold and Roger Toll thought that the name was inappropriate because it suggested a more locally focused area. It was Pechtold and Toll who recommended the name be Capital Reef.
Oh, good.
So,
I like the ones that do a little thinking outside the box and say, let's name it something so people come here versus like, let's name it after a guy.
Yeah,
He didn't build it. He didn't find it.
Wayne, it's not even Wayne's Wonderland. It's very clear that it's Wayne Wonderland. So it's kind of even a weird way of phrasing it. So
Maybe
I'm
Wayne.
actually pretty glad it's not Wayne Wonderland either. I like Capital Reef much better.
Well, they're talking too here about Utah 24, the highway that rolls right through. And they said in 1962, after that road was built to replace the old Capital Wagon Road, that actually helped open up tourism more so once that highway was completed to bring more people in. So, and then that's 1962. Give it another 10 years, and it becomes a national park. So, goes
There you
from
go.
yeah, beautiful. I mean, I get it. Utah is interesting because like you brought it up, but I don't necessarily, we don't have the time today to get into that conversation. But you look at like a lot of the land in Utah because it is barren and desolate, right? Like they said they even took back the park's borders, like they made it smaller a couple times. So it's interesting. You hear about Bears Ears down there in Utah as well.
Yeah.
And now and they took a lot of that land back after it was already designated. So save Bears Ears, save Capital Reef. We can't be tearing them down. They're beautiful places.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, Bears Ear's been they've been fighting that one for a while.
Oh yeah. Well, and then I'm
so-
reading here if you want to do the Narrows in Zion and you can't, you got to do the Halls Creek Narrows here in the park. It looks just the same.
I think we were told that when we were there. When we went to the ranger station, I think they mentioned that, or I heard it somewhere. I don't know. I've heard that before.
They
Now
say-
that you're
Yeah, here, I'll read it. It says Headquarters Canyon is for families. This remote Narrows is for expert hikers only, as it requires a 22-mile, 2 to 4 day trek to experience its 3-mile long tunnel-like slot, which often means waiting in spots. Needless to say, through preparation is necessary.
yeah, that's going to be a doozy of a hike for sure. 22 miles, 3-4 days, yeah. That'd be a lot of fun though to get out there and do that.
They even got a gypsum sinkhole. If you want to go see that.
There you go. I'm not really sure what that entails, but I think it is probably worth it. 58 species of mammals have been documented living in the park, and I am sure that black bears are amongst them because, as we've talked about on this podcast before, there's almost always a black bear. They live everywhere.
At least
Yeah, there's always been at least one sighting of a black bear. I'm doing my due diligence. I'm looking it up right now just to make sure that I am not telling false information. And there's solid chance that oh nope, there it is, black bear seen on the list of wildlife in the park.
You also got the desert bighorn sheep, the mule deer, and actually that's a really cool picture of a mule deer in that Fruta area, and really skinny antlers, but big, massive ones on for how small the deer looks. Mountain lion, ringtail. They got some western ringtails. The white-tailed antelope squirrel, the rock squirrel. They got yellow belly marmots, the American beaver.
There we go.
The gray fox, canyon bat. That's just what's listed on their page. They even have a cool video, a 7-second video of some bighorn sheep in the snow when you go to the national park page and learn about this park. Oh, nature, animals, all sorts of cool things.
Yeah. So, I mean, for the wildlife lovers, they're out there. Go check out all of it. I mean, it's the desert. You're going to find there's the reptiles too. A ton of reptiles in this park. Birds. ton of species of birds here. There's been documented more than 230 species of birds have been documented in here. That is a shit ton of birds, especially different kinds of birds. So there's a Mexican spotted owl, which sounds super cool. So if you're out there, if you're a birder, this is a great place to go. Check out, start knocking off some species of birds off your list there. Capital Reef is just overall, I think it is probably the least talked about Utah 5 park. But I think it's deserves as much credit as all of the other 4. So don't sleep on this park. Go check it out. Because with that being said, I got to be that guy. We're at the end of our time here for this episode. Yeah, we did another National Park ABCs with good old Capital Reef. But it is time for our final words. So final words, my guy.
Mark, it's been great talking with you today about Capital Reef. I know when we were there, we were talking like, man, we should change our time. We should do this. We should make some more time for this park. Because if you have the time and you have the ability to kind of, I think, game plan some areas of this park that you want to do, obviously, knowing us, you're going to game plan, you're going to show up and be like, okay, we can't do that. So have a plan B, a plan C, a plan D. Because this is the desert, this does have those characteristics of it. But I mean, like I'm reading it right now. There's the No Tom Bullfrog Road. It's a 45-minute long road, and it drives down the eastern side, connecting Utah 24 to the Bird Trail Road, which is real close to Lake Powell. So you're kind of on that side. You're looking for different things to go see and go experience. You have the Temple of the Sun, the Fremont River Trail, Sulphur Creek, Cathedral Valley, all these beautiful, beautiful, beautiful places that you hear about, you see pictures of. You're right up against Escalante, so it must be worth, making maybe an Escalante Capital Reef trip if you're into bundling. We know there's a lot of you bundlers out there. Or if you're just doing the Utah 5 and you want a quick day hike, they got 15-day hikes you can do. So just find your way, find your park, find what you want to do, and go see Capital Reef, because it's one of those parks that I'm glad I have been able to experience it in my life. I just want to experience more of it. And I know there's a lot of you wanderers out there too that feel that way. All right, Reverend.
Reverend's final words of wisdom. Stay beautiful, everybody. I can't tell you how much I appreciate every single one of you listen all the way through. Just it's New Year. We're a couple weeks into the new year, so make sure you're getting out. If you made those New Year's resolutions about getting out into nature more, go outside. Go for a nice little hike through your local park or a little jaunt through whatever. They'll be worth it. It'll be good to get outside, all that fun stuff. But yeah, make sure you go check out Capital Reef. And with that being said, peace out, everybody.
Bye.